Good morning, students. Students, as we know that we are going through chapter 5 from the snapshots, and the title of the chapter is Mother's Day. This chapter is written by J.B. Priestley, and we have been reading this chapter for a long time because it is a pretty long text of this chapter, and this chapter, Mother's Day, is in the form of one act play. Okay, students, and the main characters, as I have already told you, Mrs. Pearson, her husband George Pearson, her daughter Doris Pearson, and her son Cyril Pearson. Okay, students. So uh, at this time, uh, Mrs. Pearson is in the personality of Mrs. Fitzgerald, and uh, we see a hot, warm conversation between the mother and daughter, and between the mother and son. And when the members see a different behavior of Mrs. Pearson, they are all at once amazed. Okay, students. So when um, Mrs. Pearson is talking to her daughter Doris Pearson, in the meantime, George Pearson, her husband, comes. When he sees that his daughter is about to cry, about to weep, so she asks some questions, and Mrs. Pearson asks him to know all the matter from Doris. And George Pearson also becomes amazed when he sees the different behavior of his wife, Mrs. Pearson. Okay, students? When he sees that Mrs. Pearson is about to drink stout, so he is very much surprised and says to his wife that he has never seen her before drinking stout. And Mrs. Pearson says to her husband that it is not better for him to go to the club because all the members of the club laugh at him. Now, students, we are going to start from page number 45. Okay, students? George indignantly laugh at me? They don't laugh at me. अब देखिए जब उसकी वाइफ मिसेस पियर्सन जॉर्ज पियर्सन से कहती है कि जिस क्लब में वो जाता है वहाँ के जो लोग हैं वो उस पर हंसते हैं, उसके पीछे तरह तरह की बातें करते हैं, दे मेक ए फस आफ्टर he comes from there. So George at once becomes surprised and says to his wife quite in an angry manner, they laugh at me. They laugh at me. They don't laugh at me. No, no, no. They don't laugh at me. The people at the club don't laugh at me. कहता लोग जो क्लब में हैं वो मुझ पर हंसते नहीं हैं. तो मिसेस पियर्सन, of course they do. Really, they laugh at you. You ought to have found that out by this time. कहती है, you have to find out by this time that all the members of the club laugh at you. Anybody else would have done if in place of you some other person is there, so he might have find it out. You are one of their standing jokes, famous. So you are one of the jokes or means among the members of the club. कहता है जो क्लब के लोग हैं वो तुम पर हंसते हैं और तुम उनके लिए एक जोक के समान हो, फेमस. एंड दे कॉल यू पॉम्पी उम्पी पियर्सन बिकॉज दे थिंक यू आर सो स्लो एंड पॉम्पस. और वो आपको पॉम्पी उम्पी पियर्सन कहकर पुकारते हैं बिकॉज दे थिंक यू आर सो स्लो एंड पॉम्पस, क्योंकि वो जानते हैं कि तुम बहुत स्लो हो और पॉम्पस हो. Pompous means showy person. So George at once becomes horrified. Well, never. It can never be. Mrs. Pearson, it is always beaten me why you should want to spend so much time at a place where they are always laughing at you behind your back and calling your names. So Mrs. Pearson says to her husband that she could not understand why her husband spends a lot of time there when the members of the club, the people at the club, laugh at him behind his back and calling his names, calling his different names, calling him by the name Pompey Umpy Pearson. And you enjoy their company, leaving your wife at home night after night instead of going out with her. कहती है क्लब में लोग तुम्हारी हंसी बनाते हैं, तुम्हारे पीछे डिफरेंट टाइप्स की बातें करते हैं और तुम्हारे डिफरेंट नेम्स कॉल करते हैं और you leave your wife at home and enjoy their company. Who didn't make you look a fool? And they all consider you just like a fool. तो देखिए when George and Mrs. Pearson are talking to each other, in the meantime Cyril, their son, enters from the right side with a glass of milk in one hand and a thick slice of cake in the other. So he has a glass of milk in one hand and he has a thick slice of cake in the other. George, almost dazed, turns to him appealingly. देखिए जॉर्ज उसकी ओर मुड़ता है और अपने बेटे को देखता है, कहता है Cyril, here Cyril, you have been with me to the club once or twice. They don't laugh at me and call me Pompey Umpy Pearson, do they? अब देखिए जैसा कि मिसेस पियर्सन कहती है कि जो क्लब में लोग हैं वो जॉर्ज पियर्सन को पॉम्पी उम्पी कहकर पुकारते हैं और उसके पीछे उस पर हंसते हैं. तो जॉर्ज जस्ट वांट टू मेक इट श्योर फ्रॉम हिज सन सिरिल. अब देखिए when Cyril listens to the words of his father, he becomes embarrassed, he becomes puzzled and hesitates. And again George asks him angrily, go on, tell me, do they? Just tell me, the people at the club laugh at me? They call me by the name Pompey Umpy Pearson? So Cyril again becomes embarrassed. Well, yes, Dad, I am afraid they do. Now, Cyril makes it quite confirm that the people at the club laugh at him. They call him by different names. तो when George listens to the words of his son, तो George slowly looks from one to the other, staggered. John slowly looks from one side to the other, and now his voice is quite staggering. He is unable to speak steadily. George slowly, well, I'll be damned. I'll see them. If it is so, I'll see the people at the club. Now, George exits left, slowly, almost as if somebody had hit him over the head. अब देखिए, जब सिरिल इस बात को कंफर्म करता है कि क्लब में जो लोग हैं वो उस पर हंसते हैं, उसे डिफरेंट नेम से कॉल करते हैं, उसे पॉम्पी उपी पियर्सन कहकर पुकारते हैं, तो जब जॉर्ज इस बात को सुनता है तो लेफ्ट साइड से बाहर चला जाता है स्लोली. ऐसा लगता है कि somebody had hit him over the head. Cyril, after watching him go, turns indignantly to Mrs. Pearson. अब देखिए, Cyril now turns to Mrs. Pearson, his mother, and says to her quite angrily, "Now, Cyril, now you shouldn't have told him that, Mum. That's not fair. You have hurt his feelings, mine too." तो देखिए, सिरिल कहता है अपनी माँ पियर्सन से, मिसेस पियर्सन से, कि इफ शी नोज अबाउट इट दैट द पीपल ऑफ द क्लब लाफ एट हिम, तो शी शुड नॉट हैव टोल्ड एनीथिंग टू हिज फादर. दैट्स नॉट फेयर, एंड इन दिस वे शी हैज़ हर्ट द फीलिंग्स ऑफ हिज फादर जॉर्ज पियर्सन, एंड शी हैज़ ऑल्सो हर्ट हिज फीलिंग्स. तो मिसेस पियर्सन, sometimes it does people good to have their feelings hurt. The truth out, not to hurt anybody for long. If her father didn't go to the club so often, perhaps they would stop laughing at him. तो देखिए, मिसेस पियर्सन इस बात को एडमिट करती है और अपने बेटे से भी कहती है, जैसा कि उसका बेटा सिरिल कहता है कि उसने मिसेस पियर्सन ने इस बात को कहकर जॉर्ज पियर्सन के फीलिंग्स को हर्ट किया है. तो मिसेस पियर्सन कहती है कि समटाइम्स इट डज पीपल गुड टू हैव देयर फीलिंग्स हर्ट. कहती है कभी कभी लोगों की भावनाओं को ठेस पहुंचाना उनके लिए एक जानकारी होती है. इट इज़ ए काइंड ऑफ इंफॉर्मेशन टू देम. और ये भी कहती है कि सच्चाई किसी को लंबे समय तक चोट नहीं पहुंचाती. एंड इफ योर फादर स्टॉप्स हिम गोइंग टू दी बार, गोइंग टू दी क्लब अगेन एंड अगेन, और यदि तुम्हारे पापा बार बार क्लब ना जाएं, तो लोग शायद उनकी मजाक या उन पर हंसना या उनकी खिल्ली उड़ाना बंद कर देंगे. तो देखिए, सिरिल कहता है ग्लूमीली, आई डाउट इट. नाउ सिरिल क्वाइट ग्लूमीली मीन्स इन डिसअपॉइंटिंग वे, बोले आई डाउट इट, बोले मुझे इस पर संदेह है, डाउट है. Okay, students, so that's all in this lecture. We shall go through the next lecture in the next video. Thank you.